Hi, Ava. Hi, Isla. Grandpa Glenn here with a bedtime story from Sofia the First. This one's called The Princess Test. One day at Royal Prep, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather float into Sofia's dance class. There they are. May I have your attention, please? Asked Flora. We won't be having dance class today. Instead, you'll be preparing for a very important test. The Princess Test, Merryweather adds. It's your chance to show us everything you've learned about being a true princess, explains Fauna. Everything, Princess June exclaims, but we've learned so much. The fairies explain that the test will take place in the ballroom right after school. Good luck, everyone, Fauna says as the fairies flutter out. The girls head to the library to prepare for the princess test. The librarian, Mrs. Higgins, finds them books to study and wishes them luck. Sofia starts to worry. I haven't been a princess very long. There's so much I don't know. Just make sure your gown looks gorgeous, like mine, and you'll do fine, Amber assures her. That's the most important thing to know about being a princess. Hildegard flips open her fan, and be sure you know how to properly flutter your fan. That's a must. Sofia hopes she can remember everything she's learned so far about being a princess. The princess test is about to start. It's exciting, girls. You go on without me, Sofia says as the others head for the ballroom. I want to make sure my dress looks perfect. The other princesses pass Mrs. Higgins. Princess Amber, the librarian calls out, Can you help me? I wish I could, Mrs. Higgins, Amber replies, but the princess test is about to start. I understand, dear, Mrs. Higgins said. She asked June and Hildegard for help, but both girls apologize and hurry past as well. Finally, Sofia comes along. What's the matter, Mrs. Higgins? She asks. Oh, thank you for stopping, the librarian cries. I have to bring these books home, but my wheelbarrow broke and I can't carry them myself. Will you help me? I don't live far, just down the path a wee bit. Sofia glances towards the ballroom, not sure what to do. Of course I will. Sofia sees that a tree has fallen on the footbridge that leads to Mrs. Higgins' house. How are we going to get to your cottage? Well, there's another way, but it will take a bit longer. Sofia gulps. Longer? But that might make me late for the princess test. I understand if you need to go back, Mrs. Higgins says. Sofia thinks about it, then she shakes her head. I can't let you carry all these books yourself, Mrs. Higgins. Lead the way. Soon they come to a narrow path between two boulders. After you, my dear, offers Mrs. Higgins. Sofia steps forward, then she stops. I'm so sorry, she says. A proper princess would say, after you. Mrs. Higgins smiles, but you are a proper princess. Well, I wasn't born a princess, Sofia sighs. Sometimes I feel like I need to keep proving that I belong. Mrs. Higgins pats her shoulder. From what I've seen, Sofia, I think you make a wonderful princess. After a while, Sofia and Mrs. Higgins come upon a stream. Where's the bridge? Sofia asks. Mrs. Higgins chuckles. Oh, we don't need a bridge. We can just walk across the rocks. Sofia hears the school bell in the distance. The princess test is starting. She needs to hurry. Sofia follows Mrs. Higgins over the slippery rocks. While she tries to keep her balance, she drops her fan in the water. Oh no, cries Sofia. Hildegard said the fan is really important part of the princess test. Oh, there it is in the water. Now I lost it and I'm late. What am I going to do? Once again, Mrs. Higgins offers to let Sofia turn back. But Sofia knows the books are too heavy for one person to carry. I'm not leaving until we get you home, Sofia insists. Besides, my gown still looks nice. My sister said that's the most important part of the test. Mrs. Higgins points ahead. My cottage is just through those trees. To get to the cottage, the two must pass through a muddy bog. Sofia holds up the edge of her gown to keep it clean. There's just one problem. The mud is slippery. Halfway across the path, Mrs. Higgins slips and falls. Sofia tries to catch her, but she falls in the mud too. Her gown is filthy. I'm so sorry, Sofia, Mrs. Higgins says, arriving at her door. but I couldn't have made it home without you. Thank you. Sophia smiles. You're welcome. I may have missed the princess test, but it was worth it. Mrs. Higgins has a twinkle in her eye. Don't give up on that test just yet. Come this way. Mrs. Higgins leads Sophia into the cottage, which transforms into the royal prep ballroom. All the other princesses are inside, along with Flora and Merryweather. Sophia, Amber exclaims, where did you come from, and what happened to your dress? Sophia is confused, especially when she sees a second Mrs. Higgins standing nearby. The first Mrs. Higgins pulls out a wand and transforms into Fauna. I used magic to make myself look like Mrs. Higgins, Fauna explains. It was all part of the princess test. One of the most important things about being a princess is practicing kindness. A true princess always helps a person in need. The real Mrs. Higgins nods, even if it means giving up something that's very important to you. Amber and the other princesses all end up doing well in the princess test. The fairies reward them with sparkling silver stars. But Sophia was the only one who stopped to help Mrs. Higgins, so she wins a special gold trophy. Can I hold it? Amber asks eagerly. Of course you can, Princess Sophia says with a smile. Oh, well, that's a good story. Okay, girls, well, I hope you liked that one. Now you have a good sleep tonight, and remember, Grandma and Grandpa love you. So does Molly, who's having a sleep already. So does Angel. Good night, girls. Love you.